Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have some new information in hand in regards to what we were talking about in Saturday's video. So, what's going on if you didn't catch Saturday's video? Well, over in Russia, the Russian government announced that they are moving to seize the assets of a game studio known as Lesta Studios. Sealord, why the hell should I care about this? Well, Lesta was the original studio that developed Warships. It used to be Wargaming St. Petersburg, Lesta before it was purchased by Wargaming, and it was known as Wargaming St. Petersburg when Wargaming owned the studio. And they were the studio that developed, published, and ran Warships for years. Up until 2022, when Wargaming pulled out of Russia and Belarus following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. All of the company's properties were transferred to Lesta for the Russian and Belarusian players, and then Wargaming left Ukraine. And now Lesta runs essentially their version of water tanks, warships, and World of Planes. So their assets were apparently seized by the Russian government, and that's what we were talking about Saturday. We didn't know why. We did a little speculation, talking about, well, maybe since the finances are stuck within Russia, maybe the Russian government wants a cut of that now. But either way, the information we had on hand Saturday, we didn't know what was going on. But now, a new article has gone up, ironically enough, Saturday evening, at least my time, like 10 o'clock at night, I should say, and we have a bit clearer picture of what's going on, and it's not good at all. So, link to this will be in the description down below. It is from a Russian news agency, so you'll have to translate the page, and keep that in mind as I'm reading through this. This is just Google translating it, so there might be some words that are misplaced here and there. If you're a native Russian speaker and would feel like, give us a little more clarity in the comments down below as to what exactly this article says, that would be most appreciated. I haven't really seen anyone else really talking about this, which is really odd how much the wargaming community loves drama, but again, no one's really been talking about this, at least from what I've seen, besides like a Reddit post, and not even this information just yet. But anyway, let's go ahead and read this article. Again, translated from Russian to English. This is coming from RIA Novosti. It's a Russian state media company, Russian state ran media company. So this is essentially the Russian government, right? And this is what they are saying. So, it says, Moscow, April 26, RIA Novosti. The Prosecutor General's office asked the Tagansky District Court of Moscow to ban the activities of the association consisting of the owner of the company Lesta, Malik Kadazayev, and the owner of the Wargaming.net, Viktor Kisly, as well as to recover 100% of the shares of Lesta in the income of the state. Follows from the court materials at the disposal of RIA Novosti. The statement claim of the Deputy Prosecutor General of Russia on the prohibition of the activities of the association consisting of VV Kisly and MA Kadazayev, and on the conversions of shares in the authorized capital of the defendants to the state, the documents say. Man, that's a mouthful, ain't it, documents? We are talking about the shares of Lesta LLC, Lesta's Game Agencies LLC, Lesta Games Moscow LLC. I'm assuming the three corporate entities of Lesta. The Prosecutor General's office believes that Kisly and Kadazayev are part of an association that carries out extremist activities. In the lawsuit, the applicant attached publications with the titles The Most Military Game, World of Tanks Against Russia's Special Operation, How Wargaming Survived 25 Years and Coped with the War in Ukraine. Wargaming launched a charity project with Ukrainian content in games to collect for ambulances. Earlier, it became known about the seizure of the assets of the Lesta Group of companies and related persons. Lesta sent a private complaint against the ruling to the Tagansky District Court of Moscow in terms of challenging interim measures at the request of the prosecutor's office, which led to the blocking of accounts and the prohibition of legal actions. And that is the article, ladies and gentlemen. So what it sounds like to me is that the Russian government is still viewing Lesta and Wargaming as one entity with regards to the United 24 charity campaign that Wargaming had in October of 2023, which is over a year after the two companies split apart. Now, this charity raised money to buy ambulances to help Ukrainian civilians, which is about the most innocent thing you can do in terms of supporting one side during a war. Just provide ambulances and medical care for those involved. And I know in World of Warships you could buy like the crates, which had camo. You could get a patch. I think an in-game flag as well. So pretty innocent stuff. And I believe it's pretty similar across the board for, water tanks and water warplanes. You could buy, some whatever, in-game items that were cosmetic. That's it. Now, this happened back in 2023. And why now, almost 2 full years later, is this suddenly considered extremist activity, even after Lesta split up from Wargaming? Keep in mind, this is over a year after the split. And this was at the point where, in the split between the two, we started to notice a definite change in direction of where the two games were heading. Because if you go back and you can watch, my videos or whomever's videos back in 2022, for a couple of months after the split, Wargaming and Lesta pretty much had the exact same updates, right? Because, of course, when you're producing a major content for a major update every 5 months, the lead time on that's pretty significant. Every 5 weeks, I should say. The lead time on that's pretty significant, right? So you've got things in the pipeline that can't be changed. But as time went on, there were bigger changes that were happening on one side that wasn't happening on the other side. And by this point, again, almost a full year after the split, it was pretty evident that the two games are, it was going in two different directions. There's pretty major changes between the two games now. And then nowadays, of course, you go look at the Lesta client, if you still can, you'll see there's whole different tech lines, different mechanics than what's in World of Warships. I'm assuming probably the same is happening with World of Tanks and whatever Lesta's version of World of Tanks is called. I don't know. I haven't checked that out. So it's pretty clear that the companies are separate, is what I'm saying. And now they're trying to link them together here 5 years, not 5 years, I'm sorry, 2 years after this incident, almost 3 years since the split. Why? Well, because of a figure that was pretty eye-opening, or I should say eyebrow-raising, with regards to Lesta's income. And I actually goofed up the conversion in Saturday's video. So Lesta has made $194 million US in profit in 2024. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in Russia. Now, you see, beforehand, Wargaming, and still today, Wargaming's financial headquarters is in Cyprus. Cyprus is a known tax haven. Tons of companies have their financials, or at least their financial headquarters there in Cyprus in order to avoid paying taxes. Who wouldn't? I don't like paying taxes. You probably don't like paying taxes. Yeah, makes sense. But of course, since Russia and all Russian companies are under so many sanctions, that is not an option available to Lesta. So Lesta, of course, has to keep their finances, I would assume, in Russia. So I guess now, since this money is actually touchable by the Russian government, they seem to want to get all of it. As we saw in the article, they're not going after like a cut of it, but they're threatening to take 100% of the, as it says in this article, the shares of Lesta. I'm assuming that probably means profit of Lesta, in the income of the state. Because I'm assuming, like Wargaming, Lesta is a private company. And that's, of course, where Wargaming comes into the picture, too. Because they also make this charge against Victor Kivsley, who is the owner of Wargaming. So they're also charging him with this, too, it seems. But, of course, he's, I believe he lives in Cyprus. So I'm assuming he's out of reach of the Russian government. Hopefully so. So, yeah, but of course Wargaming it's not located in Russia anymore. Well, his headquarters actually used to be in Belarus, because that's where Kivsley's from. That's where he started Wargaming. And then, of course, after 2022, companies did split. So that's what's happening now. And it seems like the Russian government is proposed to take over Lesta. So what does this mean for Lesta? Well, one of two things. Either the company is going to be seized by Russia, which is pretty much what they've said so far by the Russian government. And I would assume probably either one of two things after that. It's going to be liquidated and basically made into a, I guess, state-ran gaming studio, which I haven't really heard of that before, but sure, maybe. Or what's probably more likely is going to happen is the CEO, the owner, at least, is going to be, well, he is being charged with these extremist charges for raising money for ambulances that Lesta didn't do. And I don't know if you guys have checked out Lesta. Like, they have some of the most like pro-Russian events because obviously their player base, Russians and Belarusians, right? So like they have pro-Russia events all the time. It would be wild, like if I just showed someone the events that happen in Mir Korabli, like, oh yeah, by the way, these guys are being charged with extremism against the Russian government, despite all these pro-Russian events going on in the game. So that's wild. But of course, it's really about the money. But yeah, no, he's catching these extremist charges because, some oligarch or who knows, maybe Vladimir Putin himself wants that, $194 million in revenue that the company brings in. So I would assume probably the CEO owner's going to get arrested, thrown in jail, going to get replaced with someone that will essentially do whatever the Russian government says, and maybe the company survives from there on out, or they might just seize the assets, liquidate them, and then there goes Lesta. We don't know at the moment. Apparently, this is set. The trial is set to happen sometime in May, so pretty soon. So we'll see from there on out. But it's absolutely wild that this is happening again, especially if you've taken a look at, like, again, Lesta. Not very much anti-Russian rhetoric in any Lesta events or anything like that. And again, the companies were well and separated, well over, I believe, almost a year and change when that ambulance fundraising event went live. And it did not happen. It did not happen in Lesta's products, obviously. That's they're not stupid, right? So this is just terrible. Terrible, 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 terrible. Because these are real people's lives that are getting screwed over by this. And you can imagine, when Wargaming left, they did, I believe, offer to take any staff that wanted to go with them. If I'm remembering back to the split correctly and the publications they were putting out around that time. And you can understand why someone, may not want to leave, their whole family behind, if they're in St. Petersburg, which is where Lesta was located, or in Minsk in Belarus, right? And, they at least had the opportunity to stay there and have a job doing what they know how to do, which is, develop video games and work with the engine and stuff that runs World of Warships, World of Tanks, World of Warplanes and such. And then this happens. These are people, normal, everyday people, just going about their lives, doing what they can do to get by and make a living for themselves, and then now this happens. I really do feel for them. Like I said in Saturday's video, this is terrible, because 99.99999% of the world are normal people like you and I that are just going through the day, trying to make it through another day of existence on this planet, and then stuff like this happens out of the blue because some greedy politician wants to get their hands on that 194 million or 424. I believe the company's made 424 million since the split is what I believe the figure that's been thrown around has said, and they've made $194 million in profit in 2024. So yeah, some oligarch wants that, and now poor Lesta is suffering for it. And they've done nothing wrong. I mean, really, they haven't. Besides making money, right? And now this is happening. So I feel for them. This is terrible. I hope this has a good outcome. But it's not looking too good for Lesta at the moment. So yeah, that's the update we have on today. on this little bit of news today, guys. Again, I'll link to the source in the comments, in the description down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Again, if you are a native Russian speaker, please let us know any key terms that might have been mistranslated in this article to give us a better idea of what the heck's going on. So, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below on this bit of information and such. And again, I hope everything turns out well for the employees of Lesta. It's a real crappy situation, and you know it's just terrible seeing this happen to normal everyday people. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday and wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.